As a Christian, it is essential to approach the issue of climate change with a critical and nuanced perspective. While some individuals and organizations claim that climate change is a hoax or an overblown issue, many Christians are concerned about the impact of human activities on the environment and the potential consequences for the planet and its inhabitants. However, there are also concerns that the climate change agenda has been hijacked by ideologies that are anti-Christian and seek to undermine traditional values. One way that Christians can fight back against the fake climate change agenda is by promoting a balanced and biblical view of stewardship. The Bible teaches that humans are responsible for caring for the earth and its resources, but this does not mean that we should elevate the environment above human needs or dignity. Christians can advocate for responsible and sustainable practices that prioritize human well-being and economic development, while also protecting the environment. This approach recognizes that climate change is a complex issue that requires a multifaceted solution, rather than a simplistic or ideologically driven one. Another way that Christians can push back against the fake climate change agenda is by exposing the false science and misinformation that often underlies climate change activism. While there is some scientific consensus on the issue of climate change, there is also significant debate and uncertainty about the causes, consequences, and solutions to the problem. Christians can support and promote rigorous scientific inquiry and critical thinking, rather than accepting dogmatic or ideologically driven claims about climate change. By promoting a more nuanced and evidence-based understanding of climate change, Christians can help to counteract the misinformation and hysteria that often surrounds the issue. Christians can also fight back against the fake climate change agenda by advocating for policies and practices that prioritize human freedom and dignity. Some climate change activists and policymakers advocate for drastic and coercive measures to reduce carbon emissions and mitigate the effects of climate change, such as carbon taxes, cap-and-trade schemes, and rigid regulations on energy production and consumption. However, these measures often have devastating consequences for the poor, the elderly, and other vulnerable populations, who may be unable to afford the increased cost of energy and other essential goods and services. Christians can advocate for policies that prioritize human well-being, economic development, and individual freedom, rather than accepting a one-size-fits-all approach to climate change mitigation. In addition, Christians can promote a pro-life and pro-family perspective on climate change, which recognizes the inherent value and dignity of every human life. Some climate change activists and policymakers advocate for population control and reproductive health measures as a means of reducing carbon emissions and mitigating the effects of climate change. However, these measures often involve coercive and morally problematic practices, such as abortion, sterilization, and contraception. Christians can advocate for policies and practices that prioritize human life, family, and community, rather than accepting a utilitarian or Malthusian approach to climate change mitigation. Finally, Christians can fight back against the fake climate change agenda by promoting a gospel-centered approach to environmental stewardship. The Bible teaches that the earth and its resources are a gift from God, and that humans are responsible for caring for and managing these resources in a way that honors God and promotes human flourishing. Christians can promote a vision of environmental stewardship that is rooted in biblical values such as creation care, justice, and compassion, rather than accepting the secular or ideological approach to environmentalism. By promoting a gospel-centered approach to environmental stewardship, Christians can help to counteract the fake climate change agenda and promote a more balanced and biblical view of creation care. In conclusion, Christians can fight back against the fake climate change agenda by promoting a balanced and biblical view of stewardship, exposing flawed science and misinformation, advocating for policies that prioritize human freedom and dignity, promoting a pro-life and pro-family perspective, and promoting a gospel-centered approach to environmental stewardship. By taking a critical and nuanced approach to the issue of climate change, Christians can help to counteract the misinformation and hysteria that often surrounds the issue, and promote a more balanced and biblical view of creation care.